Previously on the European LCS.
Flyer coming in, box goes down. Wolves taking a lot of damage from that one. They may have gone too far in this one.
It wasn't exactly unlucky. It's just us not communicating well.
The Nexus itself is going to go down, and against all authority, gonna put Copenhagen Wolves 0-7 down.
First 2 weeks they didn't have their main player, so they had to play a lot of hard games against good teams.
We know we're not the bottom team who's supposed to not win a game.
Going into LCS Super Week, you know, this is another time to shine. The Wolves have their backs against the wall. They need to pull out some wins to stay in this league. And against all authority, now they get to step up. They've already beaten Giants.
Turret going down, Extermin going to be focusing.
Can they beat any of the other big names in the league?
Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, and thanks for tuning in to our Super Week in the European League of Legends Championship Series. I'm your host, Eefje Schoksdepoortere, and I'll be here to take you through all of today's action. Our top 8 teams will be playing 20 matches over the course of the weekend, starting with 8 action-packed confrontations today. Every team needs to step up to the plate right now and pull out their best performance yet if they want a shot at the Summoners Cup. At this moment, Fnatic tops our rankings, but EG, Gambit, and SK are in hot pursuit. And what about against all authority, Dragonborns and Giants, who have been playing great for the past few weeks? And with 5 opportunities for victory, the Copenhagen Wolves have every chance to put the record straight. And who better to guide us through the action than our commentators, Lee D-Man Smith and Jason Kaplan. Are you guys ready for all the action?
Yes, we are indeed, Shocks, and it's going to be a very busy weekend for everyone involved. But first of all, let's take a look at what happened last week. There was a lot of action, Jason, and it's good to be joining me, by the way. It's nice to have you here for the first thing in the morning. It's 11 a.m. here in Germany. It's a nice early morning, especially for you guys at home that, you know, stayed up last night, watched North American League Championship Series till 2 a.m. like the rest of us. And some pretty good games last night. But let's have a recap of what happened here last weekend. It was, of course, started off the Fnatic, very strong performance against Copenhagen Wolves. And then Gambit, they got revenge over the Giants.
And then against Authority, pulling out their win over the Copenhagen Wolves. Fortunately for them, you know, down 0-8 at this point. Evil Geniuses lost to Fnatic in a very surprising game with really surprising picks.
Yeah, that was the Blitzcrank hook. Pretty crazy game and really strong performance from Fnatic. Yeah. Of course, on the Sunday was when things started hotting up there. Giants versus Dragonborns. Dragonborns really took a big, strong lead in that game. You thought, you know, Shushi was like 10-4-2 or something crazy like that.
Ridiculous.
But they just couldn't follow it up with a performance, and Giants managed to pull it back, and it was a great performance by them. Fnatic, of course, against all authorities, well, Fnatic just looking so strong right now in the LCS in Europe.
Yeah, they really came out big after their little week they had off. And then, of course, Dragonborn's taking the victory over Copenhagen Wolves and following up with that against Authority, taking the win over Ozone Giants. So we had some really good games overall, and it was actually a really good week just to cast end of view. And this one hopefully should be better. And
of course, that did change the league standings. It does mean, of course, that Fnatic are top of the league. You can see it there, 5-1, 5-2 for Evil Geniuses. The win percentage down the right-hand side, if you're European viewers, of course, you won't have a clue what this is because it's a very American thing. But the North Americans, they are all about it. They use it for NBA, they use it for NFL, the basketball, the lot, everything. I already said NBA, but, you know, I had to clarify because European viewers don't know what the hell that is. So that's what the win percentage is, so we're going to be going by that. Of course, we need to keep it the same across North American leagues and the European league. So as you can see, the Copenhagen Wolves, unfortunately, down the bottom with 0-0-0. That does not bode well.
But Demons is a super week, or the super weekend, I think we're going to call it.
Things could change around.
Yeah, things can definitely change. They're going to be playing quite a bit of games. We could see those standings mix up quite a bit as well. I mean, in North America standings alone, we saw quite a bit of...
I mean, Marn coming back. I mean, without doing some crazy spoilers, there's been some really dramatic results in the North American Super Wednesday and the Thursday they've had. So how are things going to change around here in Europe? Of course, you can check out all the stats, results, replays, and the previews, and all the games going to happen today, and many, many more things, as well as community updates as well. We managed to start highlighting a few things on there on lolesports.com. And for both European and North American Championship Series on there. So remember, just on the top of the website, there's a little toggle go between the 2 different regions. So, Jason, what do we have in store for you this week? We will, of course, have a lot of games. 20 matches here, of course. It's going to be spread across. Let's check them out, because on the Friday and Saturday and the Sunday, it's the Super Weekend. Many matches, and you can see them on your screen. It's going to be starting off a lively show. Gambit versus the Dragonborns is going to be a very hot, anticipated start. I think that could be lively. High KDA ratios between both teams. SK Gaming and Against All Authority is going to follow that one.
And of course, Ozone Giants could be taking on Fnatic right after that. And, Wolves will have another chance to get their go at Evil Genius to see if they can pull off a victory. Yeah, the battle once again between Giants and Fnatic will resume. Third time lucky, maybe, who knows. But, of course, the first game was in the live qualifiers in Warsaw, so there's a lot of history starting to build up between those teams. But of course, we do have 8 matches today, so let's check out the second batch. It is going to be Giants versus SK. That's going to be starting off. I don't even know what time that's going to be. We're going to have some long days. I don't know. Fnatic versus Dragonballs will be following that one up. That could be another lively performance as well. Every time I see the Dragonballs play, it's pretty action-packed. Yeah, it is. And of course,
big game. That's a massive game.
For me,
right
the
there.
highlight match, Evil Geniuses versus Gambit. We saw them play already once. It was a very one-sided match, but hopefully this time Gambit going to show their true colors. And of course, Copenhagen Wolves with their last chance today to pick up their first win against All Authority.
Yeah. You nearly went with the against. It's going to be a very busy weekend, and this is just the start of it all. So let's check out the question of the day with Shocks.
Thank you. Of course, we want to hear from you via Twitter. And this is today's questions. What do you expect from Super Weekend? So it's a very open question. You can tell us, who do you think will rise to the occasion? Who do you think might underperform? Which champions will be picked? Anything goes. You can tweet all of that at LOL eSports, hashtag LCS, as well as any questions you may have for the commentators or casters. Now, Gambit is looking to go 5-2 in the European LCS, and Dragonborns want to prove they have what it takes. Gambit versus DB is our first match of the day. We'll be right back.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It's time to get into the first match. It's going to be Gambit versus the Dragonborns. This promises to be a lively encounter with both teams coming into match with a high KDA ratio. It's kill, death, and assist, that is, for you guys at home. So let's take a look at the teams. It is, of course, going to be Gambit Gaming. They are the blue side. It's going to be Darian, Diamond, Alexich, Genja, and Ed Ward.
And over on the red side, we have Spontex, Maluno, Shushe, Hosan, and Movert. And like you said, it should be a very lively match. And I think it's going to come down to that mid lane.
It could really come down to that mid lane, but the person that we want to talk about is Edward.
Yeah, we have to.
He has highlighted for Gambit, and of course, he has been instrumental. His Thresh was amazing last week and was just banned out for the rest of the day.
The thing is, he's always been like that, though, for his team. He's always been that key player in the bottom lane, getting those kills secures, but the Thresh against Meteor Makers was insane. He played an amazing Thresh as well during LCS last week, and maybe we'll see it again this time. Maybe we'll be banned out.
Yeah, I mean, the ESL Major Series happened on, was it Tuesday or Wednesday, I think it was. We saw Edward, he went 8-1-11 on Thresh as support. I mean, who's doing the supporting in that lane? Is it Genja supporting? I'm not too sure. But of course, their opposition is going to be the Dragonborns, and really, it's all about that mid lane man. Shushe, he's been making the plays, of course. The Lux, where he got the double snipe against Ocelot and Nif. There was the Vi, where he was getting some crazy kills.
Yeah, he's been playing really solid for his team, and he's pretty much the backbone to keep him really emotional, really in the game. As you mentioned before, that Lux double kill on SK, it blew the game wide open. It was such a slow-paced game until that one point where he just...
They were just waiting for that moment. And do you think they're going to go with a pick like that, maybe something that just to try and make that play against Gambit?
I wouldn't be too surprised. I mean, over in North America, we are seeing, well, I mean, if we're going to talk about Lux specifically, we've seen Lux played quite a bit over there. She's really one of those champions where if you do well with her, you can carry your team. Like, you can create those opportunities you're going to need. I wouldn't actually be surprised to have them pick out a new champion that we haven't seen yet, because it is Gambit. It is a very big game for them, and if they beat them, then they can kind of create a name for themselves even more.
And just as we're going to get into the picks and bans, what are you expecting? Because in North America, we've seen some different plays. As an American yourself, how do you mix the two scenes? Because we've been seeing Taric first picks over there. We've been seeing a lot of Xerath lately as well. Alistair's been picked pretty heavily. These are champions that we've just not seen in the European scene yet. And actually, talking to Crepo, obviously we had him here as the analyst last week. You know, some of the things they've been talking about and some of the things that have been happening in North America, say, for example, the 4-minute turrets they've been all pushing for, it's like, I mean, he's not lying when he said, you know, World Elite were doing this 6 months ago. This is not a new tactic. There is a counter for it. What are you guys doing?
Yeah, it took a little bit for the teams to realize how to kind of fix that. But, you know, the Xerath, I don't really see that being a big pick in Europe for some reason. I don't know. I mean, he's very good at poking, very good long range. He's very bursty, but doesn't seem to fit the way people enjoy playing. But looking at the bans so far, we see Draven banned out, obviously going to be targeted at Hosan, Jarvan, and Vi. Actually, all three of those bans are targeted at Shushe if you look at it the right way. And then, of course, Rise is in
as well. I mean, you can't let Hosan, you can't let Draven
the last two
through. But they have let Thresh through, and it looks like he's going to get locked in. And boom, there it is, first pick.
I really wish the camera was on Edward right there, because when he saw that left open, I bet he was yelling to his team, "Pick Thresh, pick it!" Just yelling at them. But now for Dragonborns, able to pick their first two champions, I wouldn't be surprised to see someone a little bit tanky, maybe even kind of range, which is kind of doesn't really make sense to be tanky and ranged a little bit. But, you know, Thresh has really good auto attack harass, and he has that hook, obviously, which really locks you down. We've seen Alistair to maybe counter it, but I'm assuming they're going to be going for most likely a Sona.
So let's see what Dragonborns do pick. Renekton, of course, has been a very strong pick. And they are going to go Kha'Zix. That's not going to be Spontex, though, because Spontex is going to be on Renekton. I know for a fact, speaking with Dragonborns last week, they've already said, we are never letting Spontex go on Kha'Zix again, because he wasn't aggressive. Well, he wasn't matching Shushe's aggression. Every time he went in with that Vi, Kha'Zix needed to jump in. Didn't happen. But Volibear is being selected again. Diamond Brock's the man who just makes everything happen in the jungle. Started out with the Volibear, of course, and seems to be carrying it through. Nothing new from him just yet.
And then also last weekend he ran out Nasus.
Yes, he did.
I think that was the first time
which
in all
actually
of LCS.
was incredible.
Yeah,
to be honest. It worked really well.
And the thing is, we have to look at right now, if they do lock that Volibear in, you have the Thresh, so you have that Lantern. That's a surprise bear coming at you.
It's like hook in, boom, flip, you're done.
Yeah, I mean, you can't really escape that. I think Crepo was mentioning, you know, if you have a Thresh in any kind of jungler that has any sort of CC or any kind of speed increase, you can't escape that. There's no way. So they're going to need to pick an AD carry that can at least escape that. Maybe Ezreal, maybe a Caitlyn or something like that. But Misfortune going to be locked in. So that is the bottom lane, and that is a real terror of a bot lane. It really is.
It's a terror of a
Misfortune
bot lane,
and
but we're seeing obviously an aggressive lineup already from Dragon Balls with that Renekton, with that Kha'Zix. It means two champions that are going to go in. Obviously, the Slice and Dice isn't going to quite cover as much game ground as the jump from Kha'Zix. Let's see what Dragon Balls do follow it up with. Could we see something lively from Hosan? It's going to be possibly a Leona and Varus. We had him talking about Varus the other week. It was one of his champions because I was basically saying, you know, I'm not sold on Varus right now, but he explained it to me, and I was like, okay, I can see how it works. You know, he was happy with the poke that you get with from long range. You can harass a lot, and maybe, you know, the fact that you're going to need that long range against a Thresh.
I just really love the way the two teams are matching up right now, because they're both very aggressive compositions to go head-to-head. Hopefully we see a lot of fighting happening. Oh, and actually Genja hovering over there, so we might actually see him come out in Europe.
I think it's just Genja being a troll. I'm seeing him grinning and smiling as well, and he hasn't got his full headset on right now, so he can hear us in the studio there. We do see Shen getting locked in, though, so it's going to be Edward. And, you know, actually, to be fair, Alex does always play the OP champion, so it's possible, although everybody's been saying Xerath's been OP for a long time.
And the thing is, look at their composition. That long-range stun he's going to offer your team allows your entire team to initiate off of that. You're going to have the Volibear running in, because we had a hard time when it was EG versus Gambit. Diamondprox ran Udyr, and he was having a hard time catching up to them.
It is.
Oh, they switched last second.
It's going to be Zed. It's going to be Alex Ich on Zed in the mid lane.
I have no words because I'm that excited to see how well he plays.
Yes.
We've seen him play Olaf before.
I've seen him playing this. Well. He played it in ESL Major Series, didn't he? I'm pretty sure it was Alex playing it. I'm almost certain it was. In the games, it was last week or whenever the heck it was. Honestly, my game, we have that many games in League of Legends right now. It's pretty awesome, but it also muddles my brain. We do have the final pick, though, coming out from Dragon Balls. What are they going to do? Bear in mind, it's going to be Zed versus Kha'Zix in that mid lane. It could well be. We saw the paramedic that is Maluno the other week, and it was fantastic. I mean, you called it yourself, but he did save him twice.
Yeah, he did. And he was playing those more support kind of junglers, and that's gonna be a nice kind of combo to lock down Gambit and protect Varus, because he has no escape. You have that Leona, you have the Amumu, if you're Renekton, if you want to keep him in the backline to stun them down. So Varus gonna have a lot of protection. They have a lot of upfront damage as well. This game is pretty much destined to be explosive now.
Well, I mean, so what are you seeing from these two teams? Because Gambit are so tanky. There's a lot of damage and there's a lot of tank in there. I'm seeing a really hard team comp, but there's so much damage from Dragonborns.
It's just, well, you're very right. Gambit, they have so much damage behind them. They're so tanky as well. And then Dragonborns, they match them in terms of damage, but they have a lot more control that Gambit doesn't have. But then again, they lack on the tankiness. So it really comes down to who can pull off that team fight better, who can use all their CC, or at least all their gap closures in the correct way to create an opportunity. It's really going to come down to, I have to say, Genja and Hosan, though, because AD carries, I mean, everyone's mentioning, no, they're kind of underpowered in Season 3, but we've seen in North America, we've seen in Europe, that is not true in any way. It's really up to them to create an opportunity for themselves to stay alive. And of course, Genja, well, you guys obviously can see on your screen, but we noticed Ghost Cleanse again. He's pretty much been the only AD carry I've ever seen run that kind of summoner spell. Yeah, and it's interesting because in North America lately, we've seen Chaos not even using boots on Misfortune. So we'll get to see how that transcends and whether Genja's got anything up his sleeve to see how it works out. But what are we expecting in terms of, I mean, you talk about the AD carries, but honestly, Misfortune has been one of the strongest picks. Cop's been playing it pretty much non-stop from Curse. But Varus, it's something we haven't seen a great deal of in North America at all. In fact, I'm trying to think whether I've seen it at all in the last 12 games that have happened this week. Yeah, I don't think we have at all. I mean, the only one that's really been playing it has been Yellow Pink with the Leona combo. It was Yellow Pink and Crepa running that same combo in the bottom lane, and it did work. It really did. It was very aggressive, and actually I think it opened up to quite a bit of kills, but you know, just looking at these compositions off based off level 1, because, you know, I don't think we really go into it too much, or enough, I'll say. But do we want to see some sort of aggression out of them? Because we do have some really interesting items picked up for each. But, you know, in terms of level 1 fighting capability, you have that taunt on Shen, you have the flip out of Volibear, you have Zed who can do pretty good damage at level 1. Then you have, of course, Misfortune, you have Thresh who can lock them down with the pull. So they have a really, you know, strong team to go for that kind of level 1 fight, but it really sets them behind if they do, because they're going to pick up skills that really slow them down in the lane or in that jungle. And in terms of Thresh, I mean, Edward was landing them hooks freely when he got Thresh the other week. He seems to do excellently well with any skill shot that he has to use. So
to me, that immediately means if he does get caught on someone, and bearing in mind, I'm thinking back to North America again. I mean, you know, what's the word I'm after? I'm referring. Thank you very much. Referring to this a lot, and basically for the fact that TSM versus, what was the first game of the day yesterday? TSM versus Vulcan.
Yeah, that was.
It was all
insane.
about TSM getting caught out, hooks, etc. Is that something, you know, that possibly, you know, if the hook comes out from Thresh, bam, that's one person down. If it's the AD carry or the AP carry, well, which is Kha'Zix, which in this time is going to be jumping in, they can pop that person so quick.
Yeah, we saw that with Copenhagen Wolves. Deficio kept catching No from Against Authority.
Yes.
On Ezreal, I mean, he wasn't going for him specifically, but he would catch him. They would all hop on him and blow him up. Looking at what we have for Gambit at level 1, if they do, you know, get that pull, they can create that opportunity to go for the kill. But look at it in the later game, you can have Edward do this. He lands the pull, and then he pulls himself to that person with a lantern behind him, and then he can get his Shen. He can get his Volleybar in there instantly, and then that'll create the opportunity for them to lock down whoever they want and pick up the kills. That's really a scary initiate out of the teams. And, you know, if you're Dragonborns, you have to be a little bit worried about that, but they have a really strong composition in terms of damage. So if Edward doesn't get tanky enough, which he does through his souls, obviously doesn't get the armor per level, they can blow him up pretty quickly.
So, as it is, we do have just the game being remade. You can see the players on the screen. Sorting there out. There is Alexich, the only player in the LCS currently to be a new father, I guess. And really, I think, without delving too deep into all the players' private lives, I think he is the only player in the LCS to be a father. I'm trying to think of... I mean, I don't know. I mean, there could be a couple of love childs out there that I don't know. But I don't want to go into
away from that one.
Into the whereabouts and activities that the players may have at events. Who knows? But there is Darian on your screen. The Gambit looking pretty much settled for this one. Diamond, I think we just woke him up for this morning. Morning, Diamond. He always looks so happy.
He looks a little tired. He's like, oh, I don't want to be up this early.
At least he's not stretching this morning.
Yeah, that's true. He's keeping his aerobics probably too at home or something like that.
Yeah, that's where we'd prefer to keep it. There is the Dragonborn hats of Maluna, of course, the new firm jungler now. Obviously, Broken Shard has stepped down as main jungler, so he's now going to be the temp. So Maluna now the first man in that lineup.
You know, I'm kind of happy to see him jungling, first of all, 4 Dragonborns, but in terms of his champion pool, because he played Shen pretty much every time except in the first 2 weeks, but he finally spread it out. He finally used Kale, he finally used a Mumu, and it really shows his diversity in terms of champions he can play. And he's really been creating these opportunities for Dragonborns to get these wins. He's getting the lockdown on someone, allowing Shushay to go to town on whoever he wants and create a couple of kills here and there.
What town is he going to go to?
What?
You said Shushay going to go to town. I just wondered which one.
Well, you know what? Okay, maybe that's an American saying. I don't know.
No, it's a perfectly fine saying.
Oh, he's going to Pound Town.
You're just not
I don't know
awake.
if you're looking for that one.
You're just not awake this morning, I think is what it is there, Jason. It is an early morning, of course. It's 11 a.m. here in Central European time. And welcome to the North American viewers that are up at about 2 a.m., I think it is, in Pacific time right now. So welcome any Riot employees that may have stayed awake. Hello, Waylon, maybe. Just give a shout-out especially to him as well as... the North American scene, of course, they have had 16 games already. They do have another 4 games tonight, so that will be at 2 a.m. here in Europe. So there's a lot of games, guys. There's a lot of games to go through. We do, of course, have 8 games today, 6 games tomorrow, and 6 games on Sunday. So it's a super weekend here in Europe. They just had Super Wednesday. We have the whole weekend because we're super in Europe.
They should pretty much call this the no sleep week, though, because if you're a viewer, I mean, you can't afford to sleep. You're going to miss out on some games.
Well, it's technically a no sleep 2 weeks. Because we've got the Intel Extreme Masters World Championships coming up next week, starting Wednesday through to Saturday. So it's a pretty long period here. What are they spelling out? Oh, I thought they were going to go for TSM in the picks and bans, but they went for TSS. They kind of missed. TSM EU. EU West, of course.
Oh, yeah, okay.
EU West. So what does TSS mean? Maybe I shouldn't go into it.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a Russian thing.
I'm not even going to look at that one.
It was Darian that did it, so there may well be some secret meaning in there. But we do have the picks and bans going through at the moment, so the game should get underway. We have an extreme close-up of Edward on your screen right now. And, of course, there has been a question, actually, I've seen on Twitter of the headsets. Obviously, we are using different headsets here in Europe than the North American, which is why you see the multiple headsets here in Europe, which is why they also have... I mean, it kind of shows their sponsors.
Yeah.
Let's face it. I think the teams are probably quite happy with it. I mean, I'm not sure how happy you'd be with 3 headsets on, but they seem happier that they have their sponsors on the show, I guess.
I think I've worn headsets like that before, and it's surprisingly comfortable having something around your neck. I mean, it's kind of a little bit
soothing.
Yeah, a little bit.
So how does it work when Ocelot has that scarf as well around his neck? I'm not too sure, maybe. But as it is, so okay, we're about to get in the game. We've had a little bit of a delay for the players. Mm-hmm. It's been their first game of the day, though, so they're not probably too stressed, and it is only 25 past 11. So these guys are just waking up mechanically wise. How do you prepare for this? Because we saw in a number of interviews in North America this week, and from chats we've had here with players in Europe, of how really the first game of a weekend in any tournament, be it an event, be it at the LCS, never really are quite ready. Some players just can't get as warmed up as others.
Right. I think for Gambit, they've mentioned in their interviews that they don't really prepare for matches they don't think they're going to be extremely hard for them. So I think they were probably playing some ARAMs.
Is that motivation, do you think? I don't
know. I mean, it gives motivation for the other team to prove them wrong, in my opinion. But I mean, they have to warm up their hands, obviously, have to get prepared. But over for Dragonborns, I think it gives them some chance to, look at the team, talk together as a team to say, what do we want to ban out? How do we kind of want to play in our lanes? How do we want to kind of set up this entire game as it progresses through? So I think Dragonborns probably prepared a little bit more than Gambit did.
So here we are, ladies and gentlemen, we are underway. If you've just joined us, it is going to be Gambit versus the Dragonborns. It is the blue team on your screen. Genja there on Misfortune, strutting her way into the mid lane. And of course, Dragonborns as the red team playing from top to bottom. So, Jason, not too many crazy invades before, but this is Gambit and this is Dragonborn. So these are lively teams that I'm expecting maybe will go for it. And you talked about Gambit's level 1 presence earlier on.
Yeah, it's going to be very dangerous for Dragonborns. But then again, I mean, if they do go for it and they do get caught, they're going to have to waste a lot of their abilities to get them. Well, it pretty much screws them over, at least for Diamond Procs in terms of the jungle. But it's still very early right now. We might see a delay invade as they were just waiting for someone to kind of overstep their reach, but instead they're going to back out and probably just go for that safe jungle. We haven't seen, I'm trying to think if we've seen really any invades. Actually, well, the only invades we've seen is from the red side over to the blue side into the blue buff, where they sneak in and they get that first blood, but that's been about it.
The actual popular thing that's been going on is the delayed invade.
Exactly.
Really, we haven't seen any early invades. It's generally the 2-minute mark. We'll get to see whether that happens. Edward, of course, standing in position to see whether any ward placement's going to come across. No wards going out, really. There's just the one in the river now gone out from Dragonborns earlier on, but that's it. They haven't gone with any wards around the race, which generally used to be the standard you'd have to do against Gambit.
And this is something that Crepo was talking about last week. Look at the top side of your map, that tri-bush. You could easily invade from that blue side, and they'll never know. Everyone seems to leave that kind of open at this point, and they protect more of the south side of the jungle, but they're going to go for some pretty standard starts. And one thing you have to point out, Shusha, he's running 17 flat armor pen on his Kazakhs. So he's looking for Alex to maybe build a little bit of armor to kind of counter him, try to harass him at range, and then get in there and burst him down. And of course, Genja running the same 17 armor pen as well in that bottom lane. So, mover who gets to naturally take you through that W, it's not going to pretty much affect Genja's damage that much.
Well, we see Maluna doing a smiteless blue. Let's see whether it looks like Diamond is doing a smiteless red as well. So getting a lot of help from the supports. You can see now bottom lane, both returning. But on your screens, it is Shusha versus Alexic. It's Zed versus Kazakhs. And how do you see this one working out?
I think it really comes down to a skill matchup. I mean, Zed, he's a really slippery champion. He's really hard to lock down since he has that W to get away, or if he needs to. But I don't know. I think I'll have to give that one over to Shusha because he has really good sustain with the Void Spikes from range. We'll obviously have to get in a little bit close, but he has good harass as well. I really think I have to give it over to Shusha. I think the really interesting lane is going to be the bottom lane, though, because there's so much potential for kills happening before you even see them happen. I mean, you have the initiates out of both of those supports.
Well, I mean, you have Leona that can initiate very quickly. Hosan's trying to poke as much as possible, but Edward, he was over 200 armor last week because he just collected that many souls, that many kills, that many assists. He was just beating the heck out of them from that bush, and he's doing it already.
And we do see Diamond come up towards the top side. And he actually might be able to get a kill over to Spontex. It's fairly early. He's already level 3. And it just comes down to Darren if he can land that taunt or not.
Well, it's whether he's going to go in. Meanwhile, down the bottom, they are going to dive in. Mover is going to be the target, but Hosan's laying down the damage. He's pretty low himself, so both Dragonborn's members are low, and they have to back away from this one. Hosan tries to charge up and poke back on towards Genja, but you can see they're already being forced. Meanwhile, in the top lane, we did see Spontex was initiated on, and you can see he's backing away from that one, low health.
Yeah, he flashed that taunt.
Oh, he's staying.
Well, I mean, he's got a pot. Has a red pot as well to start with, so he should be healthy enough. Not to mention the sustain from that Q. But he used that flash to get away from Darren. Didn't want to get taunted, but we do have Diamond coming back up again for the gank again.
Well, he did use that flash already, and here comes Diamond, and now he's going to try and get away. Slice and dice just in time, and that big scary bear running towards him was enough to make him back off.
I was trying to think of a pun there, but I'm like, you know what, it's probably a little too early
down
for
the bottom here is Genja once again, having to cleanse off this time. He's trying to keep the damage back on towards Mover. Thought he could finish it off. Can he get a double up in towards him? No, he can't. And the poke continues back on forward.
And the one thing we just saw right there is what I love about a Thresh and a Misfortune is he threw his hook ahead of Mover, but it forced Mover to walk backwards into Misfortune's auto attacks again. With that W, you stack up more damage over time, or the more hits you get in. So he really can apply a lot of pressure, as you're seeing the double up as well. Dragonborn's, without any sort of sustain in that bottom lane, is really having a tough time down there.
Having a tough time of it, and there's tough time across all the lanes at the moment. It is Alex Ich completely out farming Shushe at the moment. He's already built a 10 CS lead in that mid lane. Meanwhile, down the bottom here, there's surely going to be action. They're going to dive on towards Genja, immediately throwing the shield down, tries to get the lantern, but now can they turn it on towards Edward? There's a lot of minions. The siege minions are poking on him. Edward might be able to turn this around if he's strong enough. You can see he's poking back towards Mover. Mover taking very low, and he's just going to walk away. Will he hook them in? Hosan is going to get caught out here. He's supposed to ignite down. Has to parry it off. Edward has to flash away. The Ignite's going to get him. Edward does a clutch play, and now Diamond Prox comes in. Mover's in all sorts of trouble. He's going to get dropped as well. Gambit, turn it around. It's 2-1. Back in the mid lane. Alex Ich, he's getting poked. Shusei's already been taken very low. I don't think Maluna has enough to finish it.
I'm pretty sure Edward's sitting there, we're smiling right now, because I was looking at his summers like, he has Ignite, he has Flash. Why isn't he, ignited Mover to go for the kill? But he was saving it for Hosan. Such a great play out of him right there to pick up a kill, and that is why we saw him having that many kills in EMS.
Diamond Prox just forcing Maluna out in that mid lane as well. He's got to be careful coming around. He's doing good poking back. Alex Ich is still there, but they are going to back away, and wow. So, lively game as expected. Has started out 5 minutes 40 in this game, and already 2-1 in terms of kills. What are we seeing starting to develop here? I'm seeing an Avarice Blade already picked up by Genja here.
It looks like he's been going for that Static Shiv as a relatively, second item, I'm assuming. We do have Diamond actually catching Maluna, though, in the jungle.
And he is just going to poke him back, and Maluna is being saying, nope, not coming in my jungle. That big angry bear defending his territory, marking his scent all over Maluna.
Oh, God. Spraying that scent everywhere. But we actually had Jat talking about this quite a bit over in North America recently. It's about being a jungler and trying to cross over that river. And obviously, Diamond will have the stronger presence in terms of if he 1v1s against Maluna, he will win. So Maluna has to be a little bit careful in terms of that. But in the mid lane, still
Maluna's coming down. Maluna's going to come into the tri-bush any second now. Catches the bandage toss on towards Genja. Immediate slow from Hosan as well. The poke back and forward. He manages to slow him down. Bandage toss will be back up. The spike is there. Maluna picks up the kill.
And Hosan was talking about his Varus when he was explaining to you why he thinks Varus is really strong. Because he levels up his Q, his piercing arrow instead of his W, because he wants to get that extra burst and the extra range. Well, you don't get range, but you get an insane amount of damage from that Q. And you saw right there why. I mean, it procs with your Blight and also gives you that steady, was it at the point?
Well, the top lane right now,
115 plus 167, that's a lot.
Spontex very low, uses the Ignite there, has to slice and dice away. Darian didn't catch him out, but it's going to force Spontex out of lane again. And as it is, Shenny's just going to start to completely out-farm Spontex here. Darian in control of this lane right now.
And the thing is, Darian didn't start with any health pots. He just started with the door and shield. And that's just how much he's bossing Spontex around at this point. Spontex went for the early chain vest, but obviously not the real key item you want to go against a Shen because he harasses you with a lot of magic damage, but working up towards that Sunfire Cave.
Well, that's a build that I seem to remember Stanley using pretty heavily, actually, in the Asian scene over the Taipei Assassins, of course. And we do see, as it is, blue buff being given across to Shushe. That's going to help him out in that mid lane. As it is, the bottom lane is where the action keeps happening. How is it starting to develop here? 45 CS to 39, but of course, with that average blade, the fact that he is 0-2 behind, he's going to be getting gold.
Yeah, that's very true indeed, and he gets extra gold per minions killed, but I think Hosan marked his, or used his scent all over GMB at the bot lane, because he's 1-1-1 at this point. He's winning in CS. The mid lane really is where a huge CS deficit's kind of happening over towards Shushay. I mean, we have Alex bossing him around 64 to 55 CS. And Shushay has the tier, he had the blue buff to kind of keep that extra sustain. He's trying to roam around, get a little bit of farm in his own jungle, but Alex has just kind of controlled him at this point. And even the top lane, as we've seen, Darian, who finally did back, picked up a Giant's belt and boots, a ward and 3 pots, is just doing the same to him. So overall, Gambit looking very strong.
Doing a great zoning job down the bottom there, completely keeping Hosan away. I'm not too sure exactly what Varus is. It's like some sort of devil child type thing, but I'm pretty sure you're just being crude when you say he's marking his scent, because I don't think he can do that. Bears do it, but I'm not too sure about him. That's just crude.
Yeah, I know. I couldn't think of anything better to say, though. But, I mean, he really has made his stamp on that bottom lane and the aggressiveness that comes out of that combo of Varus and Leona.
So there we see the blue buff. Actually, looks like it is going to be given across to Alex Sidge. So what sort of benefits do you see with that blue buff? I mean, the fact that Alex is going to get it over Diamond, I mean, honestly, it could be given to either of them right now. We are seeing a potential gank in this top lane, though. As it is, we do see, well, actually, the slice and dice does come across, but Darian is just going to get away from that one quite easily. And, well, Spontex using that ultimate, and I'm not too sure whether he just kind of used that way too early there, seemed to me.
Yeah, he wasn't able to bait Darian, and I mean, he's an experienced top laner. He's not going to go for something like that when he doesn't have any of the top side warded, but that blue buff on Alex, I mean, it doesn't really get touched on too much, obviously, when it's...
Oh, he's not letting Spontex back away, but Spontex is kind of ready for it as well. Figures out there is a ward there and gets a good poke back and forth towards Darian. He had high rage there as well, so he's managed to lay some damage down. There he goes, pulled another slice and dice back over Darian. Now we see the bear coming in. He's going to flip him straight across there, and now Spontex in all sorts of trouble. Can the paramedic that is Muluno do enough to save him once again? Curse of the Sad Mommy is enough to save his bacon, and he just walks away. The bear wants some action, but Maluna says no. Hands off.
Wants some bacon. I was expecting Citra wanted to be in there, but unfortunately, it is a moo-moo. But actually, overall, great play to Maluna right there. Just keep him alive. He actually swung back around when he noticed that Spontex and Darian were going head-to-head, and he was losing out on that.
taken very, very low in that mid lane as well. He can't have anything to do with Alex Citra now. Alex seems to have him completely in his pocket in that mid lane, but meanwhile, down this bottom lane, the poke continues.
And the CS, Gensha still staying ahead just by a little bit, but overall in gold, he's sitting at 2,900 to the 3,200 currently on Hosen, so he's catching back up at this point. But that blue buff over on Alex, I mean, it gives him the extra energy regen, which we don't really touch on too much. Usually you touch on the mana part of it, but it helps him get that extra harassing lane, which energy he has a hard time keeping unless he can hit, obviously, the same summoner with both of the spells off his clone.
So first tower of the game does go down, and it's Gambit that pick it up in that mid lane, and that's an important turret to take already. Shushay starting to struggle out here, has gone with that Tear of the Goddess and double Doran's Blade, but straight brutalizer aggressiveness from Alex Hitch seemed to work out well. And how hard of a counter is it? Or is this simply a skill lane that Alex Hitch is just winning out?
I honestly didn't expect Alex to win so heavily in this lane. I was expecting it more, because Shushay has really good sustain, which Zen unfortunately doesn't have, but he's just been harassing him as much as possible since it doesn't rely on the mana. Obviously, that's why you see Shushay pick up a tier. He can harass quite a bit, but in the bottom lane, we do see Diamond coming on for a gank.
Well, I'm just interested to see whether... Oh, down the bottom, he completely just destroyed it. And, well, Edward didn't have much chance of surviving that one. Bullet time was used to try and cover the tracks, but he was just completely caught, and he was not going to be able to escape that one. As it is, though, we are seeing in the mid lane, is Shushay going to have enough? Oh, he dodges it, but he manages to land the Void Spikes. The tower damage will not turn it around, and Shushay does manage to get the kill, eventually turned on towards Alex.
Yeah, finally he's picked up a couple of damage items with those double Doran's Blades just to keep him in the lane, because he's been struggling at this point. But the supports in terms of their items, we have Cripple talking about this quite a bit, but the Philosopher's Stone plus the Doran Shield, it's like the starting items you pick up as support now. It gets you extra tanky, gives you the extra health, gives you that regen you're going to need in lane, but we do have Edward picking up a cage just like he pick on top of that, so it looks like he's going for a heavy AP item later on, maybe a Twin Shadows for him, so it makes it easier for him to land that hook.
Hosan starting to plow down that lane. Interestingly, I just spoke to Hosan before this game, and and he was actually saying that, that the fact that obviously Draven's been banned, but his attacks, he can't get the same style that he can at home because the ping is too low. so he can't use the Q. He's get the double Qs going. He's struggling to do it here because the ping's too low. Crazy.
I really never thought I would ever hear someone complain about that, but I mean, Shushay winning his lane. Now, the top lane still for Dragonborns. We see Maluna, he's pretty much kind of giving up on this point because he knows Spontex can't get the kill on Darren anymore. He's just way too tanky, so he's been focused on this bottom lane, which we just saw him visit, and the mid lane, where Shushay finally picked up that first kill, and he's still falling behind in CS at this point, though.
So, we do see the calls, yeah, like you mentioned, 122 with 100 CS, that mid lane had been developing for a while, but that kill will turn the gold into that advantage. It means equals about 20 kills. Actually, still a little bit behind. You can see it's about 300 gold difference. Hosan, knowing this bottom lane, working down this mid turret. And as it is, you know, with that mid turret going down earlier, I expected to see Alexic roaming a little bit more, but he's stayed pretty stagnant in that mid lane.
Yeah, it seems like he's trying to really punish Shushay. He's trying to, well, as you're saying, not let pretty much either of them roam around. He's really trying to keep Shushay there, allow him not to pick up any kills. Did have Spontex on the top side get very low and ignited. He's just being forced out constantly, as you see Shushay going down to Alex, and that's just one little combo out of him, which he can do over and over with that blue buff that really is shutting Alex down. I mean, you say shutting down, but from the point where he got that first kill, he finally is shutting him down.
Well, it's because he's hit his second ulti, so he's finally evolved those wings, so he can now jump over and start to expose Alexic, and we do see Alex again in that middle. Malona is just hanging around there. Is he going to go in towards him? Alex trying to put the damage down, but Shushay, as soon as he returns, look at this, he's been very cautious about it now. He doesn't want to fall for it. There isn't any wards there, so he's just purely going off instincts right now.
I'm a little bit surprised that Dragonborns doesn't have really a timer on this blue buff, which you do see Alex going around to pick up himself for the extra regen. As Maluna finally does show himself in the mid lane, but at the bottom we have Diamond actually waiting to go in for a gank here, and with that that lantern coming out right now, it's going to be very deadly.
There's a double flash coming in there. Very nice. Use the lantern to pull in straight onto the lamp. Mouvert's going to get caught out. There's no way he's escaping this one. Tries to turn it back around, though. But we still see Hosan 3-on-1 going aggressive because they realize the poke is coming in. Maluna tries to get down there. Kha'Zix tries to get in there, but they can't get close enough. That was a nice bit of play there from Gambit, though, using the lamp to pull in Edward Diamond to fling him in there.
And that's why you need to ban out Thresh, especially against Edward. That lantern is so deadly. Just coming in the bot lane, though.
He's going to get the flip on him, but here comes the Stand United as well as Maluna to get a target. Oh, and he flashes just as the Shadow Dash goes through.
But that is why we love seeing Thresh. Just that lantern can catch you off guard. You have to ward pretty much behind the turret just to see a jungler come in to stop that. But Gambit, since they do have Shen down there, all 5 members, just go ahead and pick up this dragon. In the meantime, Spontex trying to push that top lane, catch up in terms of CS, and try to get some kind of gold back in his favor.
Well, this is the first time we've really seen Thresh combined with Volibear in competitive play. The fact that we do start to see these combos now starting to come out, this is going to be some interesting play that the pro players can use out there. There's all sorts of different combos. Obviously, with the Blitzcrank, you can have the hook and the pull with the lantern. There's all sorts of crazy combos, and I never even thought about the one with Volibear.
And the thing is that Diamond Prox plays a lot of champions that it benefits with, because Nasus as well, that Wither, you're not going to escape a Nasus who gets in there that quickly.
Fling him in there with a Wither. That's pretty dangerous.
It's just so hard to get away from that, and I'm assuming over this next week, actually over these games we're going to see today and tomorrow and Sunday, we're going to see some sort of counter to that.
Oh, there's a lot of damage going on towards Diamond there, and Shushay and Spontex wanted to keep the poke down on him, but it wasn't enough, and well, Diamond goes back to his wraiths. So Alexic did pick up the blue buff while that was all happening, so there was no invade. It didn't quite work out for them, and Edward still getting pressured along with Gendra on this bottom lane. We're seeing Hosan being still very, very aggressive despite the ganks that keep coming towards him.
Why not? I mean, he's bars. He's very comfortable with this because they have a really strong combo to kill someone off of Gambit. But as we saw, you know, with Edward, with that lantern, it can be very counterproductive for you, as you know, eventually could die. But taking a look at overall in the game, what's been happening so far, we have Darien winning the top lane pretty heavily. We had in the mid lane, even though we had a kill on Shushay, Alex is still winning in terms of gold at this point. He's up about 500 gold at gold. And the bot lane for Dragonborns is the only like real saving grace, as they have those 2 kills. But as you can see on terms of CS, he's behind. So overall, Gambit is just kind of taking this game, but it comes down to how well Shushay and how well Hosan can kind of work together to pick up some kills later on.
Well, we're seeing this top lane, and again, Spontex can't stand with Darien anymore. As it stands, he's got that Warmogs completed. We do see Alex sneaking his way in there. Is there going to be enough to tower dive on him? That creep wave will be coming through, but I think they realize he's going to back away, and Spontex is gone.
Yeah, there's no really global objectives up anymore since Dragon was taken down by Gambit a little bit earlier, so why not apply a little bit of pressure in the top lane, maybe get that turret down, maybe go for bottom, which we did see Diamond coming for a gank recently. So, you why not go for some turrets while you have that dragon down for about 3 or 4 minutes more?
Well, we talked about the damage earlier on, and you can see the items starting to pop in. Double BF sword there. It's going to be Shushay and Hosan stacking that up. But Blade of the Rune King being picked up by Alex as kind of his first complete big item.
And it's such a strong item as well. I mean, the percent damage you do with it, not to mention the lifesteal you get, and also we do have actually mid lane gank going down.
Mid lane gank on towards Alex Ich. He is going to catch him. Darian, meanwhile, taking the turret in the top lane. That's going to be Alex Ich going down there. They're diving on towards the top lane. If we could look up there, please, you can see Spontex in all sorts of trouble. He's fighting on towards Darian, but he may have the better of him. The ulti is running. Has he got enough to finish him off? It's just, oh, I don't know. The damage. This is going to be the longest fight on record. Maybe back and forward. Finally puts the ignite down. Is going to have that Sunfire Cape soon, but it's not ready yet. And they're just going to continue chasing. He should just be able to shadow dash across. Gets the silence. Has to use the slice and dice. Why did he not save it? Oh, he did. He got the second slice and dice. He could continue through. No, Darian is just going to walk away. And this is the League of Warmogs.
That was so well played by Darian right there, because he got to the side, he waited for Spontex to get on top of him, and then he taunted over the wall to make sure he couldn't slice and dice over to keep up with them. So well played, and that shows Darian's mastery of that Shen. With that Warmog completed, I mean, as you saw right there, that fight lasted forever. We do have Spontex, who's picked up, a head streaker, so he has some sort of damage item, but he can't really kill Darian head-to-head, or at least in terms of these fights. Darian's going to be a really tough problem. But luckily for Dragonborns, they have Hosan, who does % health damage once he has his bite stacks up, and they do have Shushay, who just puts out a heck of a lot of damage.
Well, what do we make of the Shushay build that he's going on there? Actually, Move getting caught in there. The ultimate being thrown out by Edward. Move is not going to get away. Instead, he just flashes over the wall and says, nope, not today. But it's flash burn, though. Ulti for a flash. How do you stand on that?
Worth it. I mean, Edward's ultimate isn't really crucial. Yeah, the slow is really nice, but the thing is, getting that flash out means your Lantern, if you throw behind you over to Diamond, can easily get to Mover and pick up that kill. We do have Dragon coming up fairly shortly, so Gambit's trying to get some positioning on it as they have all the members down towards that bottom side. Of course, you have the Shen, but we do have Hosan being caught by that hook.
Caught out. Is he going to be able to get away? Has to use the barrier just at the end there of bullet time. And now Move, I'm not too sure if he's going to be able to defend this one out. Of course, Dragon is a potential. It was already picked up, though, so it's going to be up in 144. We'll see whether Edward... They are surely going to take this turret. It's going to be the third turret of the game, for Gambit. And they now have all of the 8 turrets. Oh, they're going to turn it back on towards Edward. Maluna comes in. The ultimate's thrown out. Oh, but Varus ulti misses. They're throwing everything at Edward, but he's just so tanky right now. He's just walking away from this one. Bandage toss reset timer should be back up in a moment. And Edward turns around. Stand United comes in. He's going to go on towards Movet. That's the Shadow Dash. They're going to keep him busy. Edward now just has to avoid the damage. He's trying not to go down. Flash is out of it, but he gets dropped down there. Turns it around. It's a double kill for Darian. And now they're turning back in there. The flip comes onto Spontex. Genja from range keeps poking out. Curse of the Sad Mommy. Darian's going to go down. No, Shushay's in there, but he can't get the kill. Can't get the reset. He's just too tanky. Maluna's in trouble now. Genja still kiting him out. He's going to get Maluna down. Spontex is so low as well. He surely could finish him off. Instead, he's going to turn his attention towards Shushay, who's still trying to pursue Darian. He hasn't managed to pick up the kill here. Darian is going to eventually get taken down. The voice box is going to land. No! The damage from Gambit's huge! And well, Darian picks up the triple. My word, Dragonborns couldn't catch a break in that fight. All he needed was that one kill for the reset.
What the hell just happened right there? We had a 4-1-5 for Gambit. We had the 4 people, obviously. We had Alex in the mid lane who finally came down. But we saw Shushay and Spontex attacking Darian the whole time. I mean, they saw he was low, they wanted the blood, they wanted to go for the kill, but he's just so damn tanky, you can't pick up that kill, so Genja was sitting in the backside of that, just attacking over and over, picking up those kills. What a great fight for Gambit. 7-6 now in kills. They have those 3 turrets to the 1. Dragon is back up in 2 seconds, and they are looking to take this one as well.
Well, it was all about setting up and taking that turret to try and get the Dragon ready and waiting for it. Little did we know it was going to be a 2-minute fight for that Dragon, and now... The Dragon fight is beginning, and they're going towards Edward once again. They've used the bandage shots. They've had to throw his ultimate down. He's going to get that 99% slow across the team, but Edward does go down. Is it too little, too late? The ultimate Sunfire goes down, but bullet time hits all of Dragonborns there. It's a great turnaround. Movet dives in. They're going towards Genja. They've got to drop Genja down this time, and Shushay should do it. Immediate Shadow Dash is enough. No, the rest of the team are melting behind them, and Shushay now all on his own. He's got to get the kill on towards Diamond. Can he finish him off? He gets the reset. Can he jump away from this one? He leaps away with the double kill. Alex Ich uses his ultimate, tries to turn it around, burst him down, but no! Alex Ich does go down at the end there. It's a triple. kill for Shushay. Back and forth action. It's a 4th of 5. And this, well, we talked about it at the start. It was going to be lively. It's starting to get that way.
Wow, Shushay coming in big for his team right there, picking up that triple, luckily getting those resets, and Alex getting a little bit cocky right there, pays the price for it. And just holy crap. I mean, the bullet time we saw to Genja was so perfectly set up during that entire fight. It caught all of Dragonborn's in there, and Alex wasn't even there for at least the beginning portion of that fight. Edward getting caught in the beginning, didn't really apply anything else after that. Overall, well played by Dragonborns, even though they did have one more death than Gambit, but Dragon still can be contested at this point. We don't have the, or actually, no, we do have the Amumu ultimate up, so we'll have that form of CC available if they want to use it, but we do have Darren pushing that middle turret, and he is just so damn tanky with that 3,500 health and that Sunfire Cape almost done.
And now Darian's going to get pursued. He's got the double buff on there. Spontex wants him, wants blood. You can see Hosan coming down as well. They may have enough damage, but the rest of his team, the lamp comes in, pulls him out there, and now you can see Darian diving deep there. Curse of the Sad Mommy's pop. They've spotted Genja. They've took out Genja. They're on towards Alex Ich now. He's the target. They exhaust Alex Ich straight away. No damage coming from Alex Ich. Stand United use there from Diamond and Darian, so he's trying to keep him away. They're all very, very low here right now, and you can see Edward just beating them away. Dragonborns have to back out of this one. They don't have enough hit points. Have they got enough to try and force the Dragon? I'm not sure.
And Shushay, great play by him because he jumped right on top of Genja during that. He has so much damage at this point now. He has the ability to jump into that backline and pick off Genja if Hosan comes in, or even Spontex, who, you know, Gambit can't really deal with beside a taunt to keep him off of Genja. That's where we're seeing that ghost, that cleanse coming out of him to try to just kind of kite them. But Dragonborn's playing so well at this point. This game could really go either way right now.
Well, that double Sunfire Cape layering seems to be working out for Dragonborns every time they pile in. But of course, Curse of the Sad Mommy is not going to be available for this Dragon right now. We see Gambit starting it out. Dragonborns positioning for this one. No! Shushay's already gone back to buy. He's going to be too little too late. Gambit going to pick up this Dragon. And that's really what everything's been about. And remember, there's a 6,000 gold advantage here because they have those 3 turrets and the Dragon. But Dragonborns have been doing pretty well in these fights.
Yeah, they have. They've been showing that they can take on Gambit. But as the game is going to progress on, we're going to see them get a lot more tankier, which is going to be harder for Shushay to get those resets, because that's the key. If they can get him getting those resets over and over, which we saw in that last major team fight, they're going to win these fights.
Well, it's Genja they're just completely pinning out as well. And he was simply caught at the start of the last fight. That was kind of a big difference for Gambit. If he can be safe, which is, I mean, look at the lineup. There's a lot protecting his, and we all talk about protect the Cogmore. It's protect the Misfortune right now with obviously the Shen, Volibear, and Thresh in there. There's a lot of protection for him. Darian, meanwhile, trying to split push his bottom. He's gone with the standard build these days. Everything what we're used to from top laners. Warmogs, Sunfire Cape.
And no one can really go head-to-head against him. As you see, Shushay, he does no damage to him at this point. He's just going to be split pushing the entire time. And Dragonborns, they don't have an answer for this. And it's really going to cause a problem if Darren keeps this up. Obviously, he has that ultimate to get into the fights when he needs to. But, I mean, you're seeing Shushay has to back. He's taking way more damage than he can do to Darren. He can't heal it up either. But we do have, actually, Miluno coming in from the side.
He's baiting it. He's baiting it. He's trying to keep Darian here, and now he's going to go aggressive. But is he going to go too deep? That's the question. He uses his ultimate, tries to mitigate it. Oh, the Varus ultimate missing now. Hosan can't manage to snare down Darian, and the rest of the team starting to close in. Can he ultimate away from this one? We see the bandage toss already coming out there. They will finally pin him down. What advantages are being gained, though? Spontex going down. He's going to get picked out, and it's Alex Ich that picks up the kill. They're trying to turn. They're going towards Baron here.
Yeah, that was overall a good trade, because now Dragonborns is all down towards that bottom side of the map. They actually had to commit a decent amount to that, but Gambit should be able to pick up this Baron. They do have enough damage for it, but still, Dragonborns come in and hot pursuit from that bottom side, and if Milu can pull up a nice steal here, he'll prove himself to be a paramedic ×3.
The home guard boots are being used, but is it going to be quick enough? The damage coming out, and Gambit have backed off. They've realized they can't quite catch on towards it. The ward spotting out Mover in that mid lane. They might be able to catch Mover if they can land the hook there. Edwin instead, with that Oracles on, is just going to clear out the pit, and wise play from Gambit there, using their full-on year of hardened, battle-worn experience.
I'll just say their animal senses. Because there's a bear. But, you know, I love how Edward has shown his mastery of Thresh so far, because that last fight we saw in the mid lane, he actually he didn't abuse, but he used the mechanic in a really, you know, convincing way, because we saw Mover use the E to get in onto Diamond, but Diamond hit the ledge at the same time, so pulled Mover too far, and he got overextended because of that.
Well, Patrick Scarborough, we were happy watching this one, the man that finished off Vite. What's his damn name now? I've gone blank. Zed.
Oh.
I was down the alphabet. I was far enough down, but I wasn't quite there. I wasn't quite onto the Z there. But Zed is really the champion that he kind of picked out, and everybody's still saying he's too strong. And as it is, it seems pretty balanced. He's gone with the Blade of Rune King. He's actually finally got the Giants belt on there. So he was the man that was it was Genja and then Alex was the target. He's having to build himself a little bit more tanky here, and like you mentioned, the resets from Xuche, they're going to get harder.
Thing is, though, Alex, I think either he has it or he's very close to having the damage he needs to burst Hosan down from 100% to dead, as long as he doesn't get fully CC'd. But then again, Dragonborn's using all their CC over to Genja to lock him down. So if Alex can pull off something big like that, kill Hosan, they're going to win these fights because Spontex doesn't have the damage, Bluto doesn't have it, and Mover certainly doesn't as well. It's all up to Xuche at that point, but they can lock him down and kill him very easily as well.
Well, talking to Hosan earlier on again, and he actually mentioned it just before the show, and you know, the fact that I'm seeing that the items start to stack out here, his best defensive item, or his favorite defensive item, is a second Bloodthirster. We've been seeing a lot of hit points or Guardian Angels or all sorts of items coming out from every other player, but he just prefers to go for a second Bloodthirster, and actually Genja kind of does the same. Yeah,
we've seen him actually do that a couple times. Even in Extreme Masters Katowice, he did that, if I'm not mistaken.
He's done it a few times here in the League of Legends Championship Series as well, so it's definitely something that they're more aggressive, I think, AD carries do go towards, which you wouldn't normally count Genja for.
Well, he's actually, with the whole Season 3, he's finally started playing aggressive, which is kind of nice to see, but right now we have Edward. He has an Oracle. He's had that for a little bit so far, already 3/4 of the way done. And that kind of shows that Gambit, they could make a play on Baron because they have Xuche locked down in the bottom lane. They have Dare in there, which he can obviously just teleport in if he wants to. It's all up to Gambit to make that play. And Dragonborns kind of knows it, except they haven't really warded their own jungle yet to really see where Gambit's going to go. They're going to lose that blue buff here.
Did he snipe it? Did he? No. Couldn't quite snipe it out there. Instead, they are keeping busy, and Gambit starting to take advantage of the jungle of Dragonborns, which is danger territory, because as Crepo mentioned last week, you give Gambit a finger, they will take your whole arm, and that seems to be how it's turning out.
Well, I still love the pickup, though, that we got over on Mover. Picked up an Oracle himself because he knows they lost control of their own jungle. They have to gain it back somehow, and pick up that Oracle, picking up some more wards is going to help them get that, and maybe help them get back in the game. But we do have Baron being started out for Gambit, and Darian still going head-to-head against Spontex in the bottom lane, but he's winning that battle.
Oh, they've hooked on towards Hosan. That's just the person they wanted to get. You can see he's going to get picked off here, and that is the AD carry taken down there. And now Xuche's going to have to leap away from this one. We talked about Edward with those hooks. He's done it again, ladies and gentlemen, and just says, I'm out of here, Xuche. See ya.
He's putting on the sunglasses. Deal with it.
Deal with it. Oh, Spontex, sorry, Movet does manage to get his ulti down, but again, the bullet time hits all of them. Curse the Sad Mommy used as a defensive mechanism to get the hell out of there, but the hook, once again from Edward, pulls in Movet. Xuche comes around. Darian is just tanking 3 members of Dragonborn right now, and he's quite happy to do so while they continue taking down the Baron. And they're just completely playing crowd control, but is it going to be too little too late? No, the bullet time comes straight away. Sorry, manages to get it. Maluna does take down Edward, but it doesn't matter. The rest of the team are just dropping like flies, and that is Alex Ich picking up another kill on Spontex. They didn't take the Baron, though. They got forced away from it, so it kind of worked out for Dragonborns, despite the fact Hosan was caught early on.
I was really surprised to see Gambit actually continue attacking the Baron while Darren was tanking them all up, because they could have just turned on them, picked up the kills. We had Xuche, beginning of that fight, he actually just kind of sat on the sidelines because he couldn't get in there. He knew he was going to be bursted down. With Hosan not there anymore, there was no threat of him, so all the damage, all the aggression is going to come out right on top of Xuche's head, and he had to stick to the side, and that's the thing. We saw Alex burst him down from 100% to 0, and if Zed can do that every time, that's an 80 carry that's out of the fight, and you're going to have to, Hosan, fill a little bit of health here, because I don't think second Bloodthirster is going to save you from that burst.
Well, in fairness, he was hooked and ulted by Thresh. There wasn't a lot he was going to do about getting out of that one, even with Barrier. He was just, nope, not going to escape this one. Pretty sure he's dead. As it stands, we do see Dragon being soloed here. Xuche may, oh no, tell a lie, there's 2 of them there. Xuche may come in and try and get the steal. He got it! He managed to steal the Dragon with the Void Spikes.
And that was so well needed on his part. Diamond actually had Smite up.
Yeah.
But, he didn't want to commit it at this point, because if he does...
Well, he needs to save the Smite for Baron, yeah, surely.
Because that could be a key for Dragonborns to go ahead and go for that Baron and take it. But still, I mean, Gambit's not really going to complain about that. Not too much gold they're missing out on, but Dragonborns, that was really needed on their part, because we can take a look at how much gold they have. They're really struggling at this point. We do have 10,000 gold on Xuche and over onto Hosan at this point total. But, looking at their counterparts, they're still down 1,000 gold, and it's going to come down to, if Dragonborns can't pick up a kill, they're not going to win these fights because they have to get those resets. Hosen has to stay alive. And Molino so far has been doing a good job with his ultimates to protect him.
Well, the huge difference in gold, of course, is on Darien versus Spontex. And you can see it's a 3,000 gold difference, and that equates to some pretty hefty items. He had that Warmog built up early on, as well as the Sunfire Cape. Now he's got the Warden's Mail in there. He's just getting more and more tanky, and there's no AP damage going towards him, so he's just going to be untouchable soon.
And this is why we kind of try to talk about, we're on the purple side, you have to ban out that Shen, because Darien is just using Shen to his full advantage. He's split pushing as much as possible still.
So as it is, we do see the items now popping up on your screen. Randian's Omen has been completed. Oh, Hosan's been caught once again. And we're talking about the 100-0. There he goes again. Alex Each finished him off. But they do manage to take Alex Each down. Oh, bullet time hits the entire team once again. Perfect positioning from Genja. Maluna tries to come in, but he's going to get dropped. Spontex can't do a thing about it. He goes down as well. It's a 4-for-1 for Gambit Gaming.
And unfortunately, Dragonborns, they tunnel vision a little too hard right there, because Genja was just sticking on the side with that ultimate, hitting all of them. They have to switch quicker. They have to be like, all right, whenever you see Genja jump on him, you have to save some cooldowns because you have to kill him or he's just going to destroy your entire team.
I just love Edward hooking that Baron. It looks like Indiana Jones swinging it up on high to get in, to take down that Baron.
Oh, he might do it again on Mover.
There's no, oh, and he's hooked in. That's going to be an Oracle bird. Bam, down. Another hook swings out from Edward, swinging in there like a Tarzan. I'm trying to think of who else swings, but Tarzan's the only thing I can think of right now. Oh,
yeah. I was going to say that. I was like, I think he's going to do it. So, but Mover, he had an Oracle, and yet he walked right by that ward. He knew he was spotted, and unfortunately, they're going to be losing on this Baron. Gambit can have, wow, I think 4 members had over 1,000 gold, and we had still Genja with over 2,000 at this point. Genja picking up a GA because he can. How do you stop Gambit at this point? I mean, Alex is 100
banned Thresh to start with.
Well, yeah, that's a good one.
It's a pretty straightforward thing. I mean, we saw Edward on Thresh last week. What did they ban out? I mean, I'm trying to think what would be more important than Thresh right now, because Edward is creating all of the plays. He's just managing to land hook after hook after hook at that Baron pit. Every time they walk around that bush, it's like lining up. It's like fish in a barrel.
Yeah, you can't really miss that.
No.
But I mean, you have to give Edward credit, though. I mean, it's not just the champion.
Look at that. Darian's like, yeah, I got this covered. The 5 people shooting me, nah, no problem.
Well, I mean, it's not just the champion.
Oh, bottom lane, actually, you can see that Kha'Zix is being caught out there. Volibear continuing to pursue to chase him there. He can tank up the turret all day as well. Alexic is there to join him, so there was enough damage, and that's realized Shushe trying to position himself, trying to go across. Alexic may poke him out here. You can see he's going to come around the side there, but the ward is going to spot him out, and now Dragonborns with the 5 members. Wow, ultimate use there, and that was wasted from Mover, and immediately Darren goes aggressive off the back of it. You can see bullet time once again catches the entire Dragonborn's team, brilliantly positioned. Another ultimate from Edward there, just keeping them all pinned, 99% slow across the board. And well, that's a triple kill for Diamond Prox. There's the kill for Darien as well, and that is an ace for Gambit Gaming.
I have to say though, Dragonborns, that was a really well played fight right there, because we had Hosta in the backline. We saw Alex go straight for him. He flashed up, popped the barrier, and then we had Spontex just pretty much pull a 180 turnaround and lock down Alex. But the thing is, if no one's stopping Genja, if no one's diving into the backline of Gambit, he's going to be attacking this entire time with the ultimate as well, and that's what pretty much lost in that fight.
Well, Diamond Prox is a bear that doesn't care. He's tanking up 2 turrets, but he's 9-1-12, and we see Gambit absolutely destroying the base of, well, Dragonborn's just, they're not even going to be able to get out. They're not even going to be able to spawn from this one. We see everything being thrown out on towards the fountain. Increase the KDA ratios, ladies and gentlemen. But there it is. Gambit, you are the winners once again here. And well, Dragonborns, it was a lively affair, 26-14. A lot of kills across the board, 40 kills in 35 minutes. That's the way we like to start off the Super Weekend. And of course, to follow a super game, we're going to go over to some super analysis with my longtime partner, Joe Miller.
Thanks a lot, Demon, but wow, what a game, Quick Shot. I mean, it was just so amazing to watch that one. We've been saying that some of the games we've seen up until now have been, stale, to say the least. But that one was far from it. We had action all over the place. My notes for highlights, I almost stopped halfway through because I was just out of the game typing notes all the time.
Running out of characters.
Ridiculous matchup.
It was a great game from Gambit. They simply they picked a composition that they made work. And there's, a couple of real highlights from that matchup. The very, very first volley bear dark passage, that lantern gank, where, Diamond Brox just came running in from the bottom lane, hooked onto that lantern, dove in, and I think he tossed a move it backwards. It was just so well done.
If there's anything scarier than a bear running at you, it's a flying bear flying towards you and then flinging you over. But amazing play from them.
It was great. There was a couple of questionable things that were happening from the Dragonborns as well in terms of how they played the game out. Very early on in the matchup, we've seen Spontex up in the top lane. He picked up a Hex Drinker on Renekton. Now, fair enough, Hex Drinker is a great item, but there was not a lot of burst magic damage coming out of the Gambit roster. Fair enough, there's some magic damage from Volibear's Munch and there's some magic damage from Shen, but it was a bit of a questionable decision, and you think to yourself, well, if that item had become something that was a bit more relevant to their opponent composition, what would have, how would the game have changed now?
Well, we have got a couple of replays ready for you here, and we're going to move into one which, had Demon out of breath, that's for sure. It was a long fight down in that bottom lane.
Yeah, it was really the fight that, showcased the entire matchup. If we jump into it, it's about 19 minutes 40 on the clock. I want you to have a look at the setup here right now. The beginning of this fight seen Hosan taking a huge amount of damage. He's on about 150 HP, as you can see there. At the same time, you got Shushay and Spontex pushing in the mid lane. They tried to get the tower, but it did not manage to get out. In this bottom lane now, Edward is going to get collapsed upon from the rest of the team. So he takes a huge amount of damage, and they commit a lot of ultimates here. That's the Solar Flare. You can see here the Chain of Corruption coming out as well. They start to back away, and this is now when the tides begin to turn. The call comes in from Gambit saying, go, 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 and Edward just plants his feet in this bush, and you're going to see the ultimate, the Stand United, coming in from Shen. And let's have a look at the minimap. You can see that both Renekton and Kha'Zix are moving down as well. So we played this little moment or two out at half speed, and you can just see how they just literally took so long to get Edward. It bought all the time in the world for Gambit Gaming to close in. So they start poking down Move It. Hosan is very, very low, gets taunted up, and at this time you can see Shushay and Spontex joining the party. Around about here, D-Man's eyes were about to explode. They do manage to pick up the kill onto Edward, but the amount that they had to commit to do so, it's just so hard. Dragonborns group up, they become a 3, and this is now where things start to turn well. If the Dragonborns could have won this fight, they could have done well, but unfortunately, the focus just isn't there. And look at the split here. Genja, completely untouched. They're focusing Volibear and Shen, and you cannot afford to do so. The last chase goes on. Darian gets away with his life. Maluno's going to be the first one to fall, as they eventually collapse onto him. And we move down to the bottom, as you can see Shushay closing out Darian, and it was just time and time again, the Dragonborns trying to group up, trying to make something happen, but not having that last little push or the central focus to really win it out.
Yeah, and Darian was a massive factor in this game as well. The amazing... I mean, in the lane, if we looked at the CS, there was a gap there, but it was closed off. There weren't really kills between the two of them for a long time. But just how tanky Darian got there, starting out obviously with that Doran's shield, really gave him that early game presence that he needed in there. And by the end, Randuin's Omen, Warmogs, some Fire Cape, and another Chain Vest in there, and that Doran's shield as well, just to add in. He was unkillable by the end. His Stand Uniteds were perfect as well. And we're actually going to be changing things up with the MVP vote a little bit. We should mention that. We're going to be calling one after each game, because we thought after, in the Super Week here, it's a little bit hard after so many games to pick out one single person. So we're going to be doing it after every game. This game was actually really hard for us. We had a discussion about this before we came in, and it could have gone to a number of people there. Diamond Prox on Volibear finished 9-1-12 in the end. Brilliant score coming out of the jungle. You had Darian, who we've already talked about. He finished 6-1-15, but we actually decided to give it over to Edward, because to be honest, his Thresh play just set up so much here for this Gambit team. We saw some amazing micromanagement from him.
The hooks on the Baron were so key. Managing to catch Hosan the very first time they tried to do it, then being jumped on by Shushay's Kha'Zix, he tosses the death sentence back onto Baron and then manages to pull himself back over the wall. It was clinical and calculated play and a full understanding of the champion's abilities.
And that's why we love to see Thresh as well. The fact that he can produce just some draw-dropping moments from it. We saw, that Volibear gank to kick us off was really the start of something special there for Edward. But that's it from us here for now here at the Analyst Desk. We're going to go over to Shox on the stage, and she's with Alex Itch for the interview.
Thank you. I'm here with Alex. Alex, before we get into the discussion about the game, they've got the hats. SK's got the scarf. What have you got?
We've got the belt. that's giving us power.
Vel is giving you power. Give you power to beat the Dragonborns. Tell us something about the matchup Zed versus Kha'Zix in that mid lane.
So that matchup is not the easiest for that because Kha'Zix got jump, so you can't just straight ultimate him. And after level 6, his voice spike is real pain, his W skill. So, but still, like at the first levels, I got advantage in creeps, and that gave me some kind of advantage in lane. And because that is hard pushing machine, we could push tower early. That gave Diamond a bit of advantage, and overall, that is really strong at mid.
Okay. Do you think that in the future we'll see less and less classic APs and more ADs or bruisers?
I don't think so. I think that bruiser meta is overhyped because most of the time it's really hard to play with no magic damage. As you see, it's like everyone getting Guardian Angels, Omens, and the game comes to like some kind of sort of heroes, and heroes like Orianna and Nivea will just rape that if they are not like under-leveled, because Anivia and Orianna are really strong heroes against such comps if played properly.
Okay. Now, last year, during the period, you were really stomping about every team you met. Right now, it seems as if you're having more trouble with more of the teams. Is the playing field evened in Europe?
It's like the meta changed, game changing, and everything. We got some unique like strat or style of the game. Diamond invading, no one warding, and no money for wars and stuff. But now everyone is warding everywhere, so it's a more like mind game, strategic game, and less some kind of crazy game. So we're trying to play more stable, and that's why there are no like those crazy wins and crazy storms, and more solid games, like even games, and we're like trying to play more like CLG. I think that something crazy like Fnatic.
Well, EG did stomp you a couple, like the first weekend in the LCS. How you feel going up against them?
I think we're more prepared this time. We will try to not make the same mistakes, and I think we got something like knowing about what they play and what their best heroes are. So I feel that we can win.
Thank you, and looking forward to that one. Now we're going to go into a short break. The next match we're going to have is SK. They didn't have to play last week. We'll see if they're prepared this week round as they go up against All Authority. And we also have a special guest at the analysis desk when we come back. I'm not going to tell you who it is just yet. He played on one of the teams that are competing here, so we'll see after the break.